All right, earlier I spoke with Ohio gubernatorial candidate Vivek Ramaswamy and Florida Senator Rick Scott about the failures of socialism. Take a listen, please. All right, joining us now, we welcome back to the show Vivek Ramaswamy, Ohio gubernatorial candidate, and Florida Senator Rick Scott. Thanks to both of you. Appreciate it. So you're in a kind of dog and pony show. Capitalism is better than socialism. You're trying to convince New Yorkers of that? Yeah. It's a hard sell.
No.
It's a hard sell.
It's a city of capitalism.
It's a socialist city of capitalism. That.
You know, I did a banner over the beaches about a month ago. It said, "Hate socialism, us too, move to Florida." And now Vivek's going to make sure Ohio is as competitive as Florida. So our two states are going to be the states where all these New Yorkers are going to move to if they elect Mamdani.
So Vivek, but Mamdani, here's the urban myth. I don't know if this is true or not, but all the young people, quote unquote, all the young people from the wealthy colleges, these private liberal arts schools, are lining up for Mamdani because they've come to believe that socialism is better than capitalism. Now, what are they missing?
Well, look, a lot of young people do see socialism more favorably than capitalism, even in a lot of the poll work that you see out there nationally. Yeah. The thing that they're missing is they haven't experienced actual socialism. So in some ways, and I hope this doesn't happen, but if Mamdani's elected, the best way to counter the popularity of socialism is to see what socialist policies actually get. Rent controls aren't going to bring down the cost of housing. They're going to bring down the quality and investment in the buildings. You want to bring down the cost of housing, which is a legitimate goal, increase the supply of housing. Electricity costs are high. Bring down the cost of electricity by increasing the production of energy. So part of what we need to do, and I say this to our own side, is not just defeat the left, but we need to be the party that actually stands for capitalism ourselves. Because a lot of those young people, so I'm a millennial, and I can say, relating to a lot of those young people, they are feeling a struggle. If you say the American dream, many of them roll their eyes.
There's an affordability
affordability problem in the country,
yeah.
But the way we do it is we increase the supply of what matters. So that's supply of energy, housing, you name it.
No, that's an important point. By the way, you want better jobs, you want more growth. How about cutting taxes?
Sure.
You got try to take the edge off of spending. All these spending programs are no good. But you know. Attacking Mamdani and calling him Mamdani the commie, which we're all guilty of doing, doesn't really do anything. Like, what's your alternative? Okay, so Vivek is talking about supply-side policies for housing and deregulation, presumably, tax relief. But are we doing a good enough job? The royal we, the candidates in New York City doing a good enough job rebutting him with alternatives that will heal it. Look, the whole 2024 election, in large measure, was the border and affordability, right? Inflation was higher than wages, so people were getting clobbered. Are we showing the way to do that better now? Are we conquering socialism by showing alternatives?
If he wins, we clearly haven't. But I did as governor. I came up here all the time. I came up to see you. Came up here all the time talking about how our taxes are lower. It's easier to get a permit to build a business. It's easier in the regulatory environment. There's more opportunities in Florida. And guess what happened? When I got elected in 2010, there were more New Yorkers than Floridians. Now there's, what, 4.5 million more Floridians. Because people, they want more opportunity. They want more freedom. They want lower taxes. They don't, like, we all love our mom. We hated her telling us what to do. That's what people are tired of government. But it sounds good when everything's free. That's what socialism sounds like. But guess what? In Florida, we got Cubans. We got Venezuelans. I mean, they've seen socialism. It doesn't work.
So, the classic editorial was the Wall Street Journal a couple years ago. The top tax rate, state and local, in New York City is 14.8. Okay. The top tax rate in Miami, Florida, state and local, was 0. Now, that to me said it all. Why Governor DeSantis didn't run on that, I'll never know. But that was up to him. He chose a different path. Didn't work out so great. Trump made the case much better. Vivek, you're going to be governor of Ohio. You're running for governor of Ohio. You're going to win governor of Ohio. Can you make Ohio a center of capitalism?
Absolutely. In fact, we want to make Ohio the capital of capitalism.
All right.
We're going to turn Ohio into a zero-income tax state. And the first step we're going to take to get there is to make it a zero capital gains tax state.
Oh.
Think about many people in New York, many people across the country, entrepreneurs from coast to coast, create equity value. You want to be the state of entrepreneurship in Ohio, which I want. Get rid of that capital gains tax. Reforming corporation statutes to make sure that Founders are treated in a friendly way. Directors and officers are shielded from unnecessary, fringe, frivolous litigation. That's how you actually spawn entrepreneurship.
What is it?
Spawn an economic boom.
What is a capital gains tax? State capital gains tax.
So today it's equal to the income tax rate. And the state capital gains tax rate is taxed as income. I want to take income down to zero, but the first step to get there, right, is bring capital gains down because the state doesn't even get that much revenue from capital gains tax.
How about corporate tax rates in Ohio?
It's all flat in the same thing, income tax rate. So I want to get the income tax down to zero. But beyond that, I also want to do some things for our state that go beyond the traditional Republican canon of solutions, which I generally share. I also want us to be the state that gives our kids a world-class education, both through school choice, but also elevating standards in our public schools. Because this is an economic issue too, Larry. Think about Ohio. Right now, we have more open jobs than skilled workers to fill them. We need an educational system that produces educated young people to drive that economic boom. One of the things I'm going to adopt is the third grade reading guarantee. If you can't read by the end of third grade in the state of Ohio, you're not going to fourth grade, not on my watch, until you can actually read. These are common sense solutions. It's not so much about left versus right. It's about up versus down for our economy. And
Linda McMahon doing the right thing at the Education Department,
Absolutely.
basically trying to close
First, we don't need a federal Department of Education. It ought to be done at the state and local level, right? And let our states go compete. Like in Florida, we're in the top 5 for K-12 education. We're #1 higher education. We go compete. When I became governor, I said we're going to be the best. So we focused on how do you get a job? How do you make sure universities are tied to jobs? How do you make sure K-12 education, kids learn to read? You do that through a lot of school choice. We have more school choice, started with Jeb Bush. And we focused on crime. When I left, we were a 47-year low in our crime rate. I think it's continued. We're something like a 52-year low in our crime rate. That's what we ought to be doing. That's what Vivek's going to do when he's governor. He'll be a great competitor.
So talk about crime. Donald Trump, using the National Guard, has succeeded in Washington, D.C. He's talking about going into Chicago, other cities, perhaps New Orleans. You have a crime problem in Ohio, as I understand it. First of all, what would you do as governor? And second of all, would you welcome National Guard?
Well, certainly as the governor, you actually are the commander-in-chief of the National Guard. And I don't think that we should be shy about using it in constructive ways. So what I would love to see, even in the dynamic between the federal government and states deploying the National Guard, is a collaborative relationship, working together, common sense-wise. Even Kathy Hochul's, my understanding, even used the National Guard occasionally in New York City. I think a lot of people are looking for common sense solutions to fight urban crime because it shouldn't be partisan. One of the advantages of Ohio is that we're actually a state of cities. Right, our peer states like Georgia, they have Atlanta, that's great, but we've got Cincinnati, Columbus, Cleveland, Dayton, Youngstown, Toledo, Akron. We're a state of cities, which means that we got to revive those cities. The way we do it is common sense. If you're a repeat offender, you shouldn't be out on just $40 bail. Even if it's in a juvenile system, a lot of juvenile offenders on the street after the schools closed during COVID-19, apply actual standards. More cops on the streets, and National Guard can be part of the mix for how we look at bringing solutions.
Are those cities sanctuary cities?
So Cincinnati, my hometown, unfortunately, did declare itself a sanctuary city.
How wonderful.
Right? And you go to a place like Florida, you don't have sanctuary cities.
We don't have
right?
sanctuary cities.
So that's great. But in the state of Ohio, we're not going to condone the violation of the rule of law. Think about what a sanctuary city is, just the logic of it. It's on one hand, the federal government is telling you we have a border in our country and it's illegal to cross. On the other hand, you have a state or local government that's saying, we're actually going to ask you to turn a blind eye on the law and then come to our city anyway. Is it any surprise that those cities see a rise in crime when the city itself has told you they are purposefully abandoning the rule of law? It doesn't make any sense, Larry. So we're bringing back common sense. And I don't think that's a particularly partisan idea, and I hope we win, frankly, in a landslide to call the bluff of this far-left woke wing of the left.
Well, that's it. So when you ran for president, you had a big following among younger voters, okay, in the primaries. You did very, very well. You did very, very well in ratings, for that matter. Now, can you be a growth governor in Ohio? Can you show that Ohio is sort of a city on the hill for economic growth? Florida is in terrific shape and will be for quite some time. Ohio has turned pretty much of a red state, okay, basically. So you stand a decent chance of winning. But can you make it a really big growth state?
Yeah, sure. For me, the election of winning the governorship, it's never been my life aspiration to be a governor. This is just the starting point. What I want to achieve is to turn Ohio to be the capital of capitalism, the center for entrepreneurship, and
but
yes,
do people
pro-growth
understand
policy.
that capitalism equals growth? Do they understand that?
I think those of us at this table understand
Yes,
that. It's my job as a governor to make sure the people of our state understand.
That's what I'm driving at.
That's the job.
We have to talk about it. We have to tell people why. A kid like me coming from public housing, and your parents came.
Kid of immigrants in Cincinnati,
kid of
Ohio.
immigrant. We were able to build businesses and have success. That's what the dream is. That's what capitalism does for this country.
Yeah, I don't think people understand that, and I think it needs. All right, there you have it. The conversation goes on and on and on. Is capitalism growth? Can you spell that out? Anyway,